Hello YouTubers and welcome to part number 2 of the PMDG 737 NGX full flight tutorial from Oslo Torp to Malmo in Sweden, so Norway to Sweden. We're using the 737-800 with winglets with the Ryanair livery. On this flight to Ryanair 32, cruise altitude today of 32,000 feet, so I'll set that up here. And if you haven't seen episode 1, part 1 where we go through all the pre-flight, the link will be in the description, and also to part 3 when it is out. So just set the brakes to RTO there for ejector takeoff mode, and in this one is the departure. So we will be pushing back, engine start, taxi, departure, climb, and maybe cruise, but I don't want to make the videos too long. So yeah, firstly, we've setting off from where we left off in part 1. So the MCPs all complete, the flight management computer, the FMC, is all good. And we can go ahead and close our doors by checking up here, and we've got the air stair and front forward door open, so we need to close them by going into FSX actions doors. And pushback, we're going to be about 55. You sort of have to guess on these ones if you don't have ground surface X, but you sort of have to guess where you want to stop at. So to prepare for engine start, we want the APU running. We're not running off ground power, we're running off the APU. So firstly, we're going to make sure the APU is running. We're going to turn all the fuel pumps on, make sure all the low pressure lights have been extinguished. We're going to turn the anti-collision light on, the beacon light. We're going to turn the left, aft and forward and inner hydraulic pumps off, pushback. We're also going to turn the packs off, so all the bleed air is going to the engines. And that's it for engine start. So yeah, you will get a master caution saying your flight controls because we've turned them on. And we're going to go ahead and start the pushback, and then here we will follow the instructions given.
And ground, cockpit.
Go ahead, Captain.
We're all set to go up here. We've been cleared to push and start at your discretion.
Roger that, ready for push. Power and air are clear, doors closed, we are ready for pushback. Please parking brake, please.
Okay, parking brake is off, cleared to push.
Brakes off, here we go.
Okay, so now we're going to go back up to the overhead panel, and we're going to start engine 2 first. So we're going to make sure the ignition switch is to normal, or both, and we're going to turn it to the left, to the ground. Going down to the lower DUs here, checking the ENTO, that's the fan, is rising, and when this gets to about 25% we're going to turn the fuel to idle, to turn the fuel flow on. So we're checking the oil pressure is rising, we're checking the N1 is rising, and we're checking the EGT is right, there's 25%, just over. Fuel in, we're going to see if the fuel flow is indicated, which it is. EGT is rising, fuel flow is indicated. Pushback's going on its way now. And when this gets to about 56-57%, the ignition switch will go back to the off position, indicating we have a successful engine start. Coming up to 56 now. And there's the ignition switch.
Push is complete, set parking brake, please.
And pushback is complete, set the parking rate.
Right,
So you sort of have to guess, we're sort of off the tax line there, but no worries.
Okay, sir, tow bar is on, pin is out.
And we're going to start engine number 1 by turning it to the ground position.
Alright guys, thanks. You're cleared to disconnect. We will be watching for the pin and the release from guidance on the right side of the airplane, and we'll see you guys next time through.
Roger that, have a good flight.
So looking for that 25% N2 again. Oil pressure rising. Going up to 25% now. Fuel flow. Fuel flow is indicated. You can reset the first officer's FMC now to the progress page and the legs page on there. They're the good pages to have open. Up to 55. 95% now. All pushback vehicles are clear. And we have 2 successful engine starts. So what we're going to do now is turn the hydraulics back on and the yaw damper on. We're going to put the engine 1 and engine 2 generator pumps on, so they are now providing the power for the aircraft. And we're going to change this up to here, to there, to there, to make sure that all the electricity is running off the engines. We're going to turn the bleeds for the engines on, and the AQ bleed off. We're going to turn the packs back on, and we're going to turn the isolation valve to normal. Next we're going to turn the APU off and turn the ignition switches to continuous, and turn the taxi and runway turn lights on. Next we're going to test our flight controls by clicking this small switch just next to the auto brakes. So we're going to do rudder left, rudder right, elevator up, elevator down, ailerons left, ailerons right. We're going to set flaps to 5 as we indicated on our FMC. We could probably test the TCAS now. I think we've already done that though. And the flaps will start to extend as indicated up here. TCAS is all good. Anti-ice, we got an outside temperature of 12, so the anti-ice is not required. And we are all ready to taxi. So we're not going to set up the radios, we're not using ATC or the transponder, but we will turn the TCAS on. So we're going to go ahead and release the parking brake and put about 30% forward thrust, and we'll slowly start moving away from the gate, or the stand, whatever you want to call it. Taxiing nice and slow, no faster than 10 around corners, and no real faster than 20 or 15 on the actual taxiways. Maintaining that centre line, realign my position. So we're going to turn left, we're going to turn right here, sorry, and then turn left after we enter the runway. So let's say we had permission to cross this runway, we would do now. Okay, so we're approaching the end of the runway now. Runway 18, make this left turn, then we can prepare for takeoff. We have no traffic on, but we can just go ahead and check the approach. We're going to turn the landing lights on and the taxi light off, and we're going to turn the strobes on. And we're also going to turn the TCAS all the way to TA and RA. So just approaching the runway now, we will do a full stop, take off. We won't need to backtrack anyway, we'll have plenty of runway. So we're going to do a runway check. Check it gets to the right runway. Just swing it around here. We'll just stop it here. Set the parking brake. Okay, so we're going to double check that we've got brakes RTO, flaps R5, TCAS is on, auto brakes. Spoilers, sorry, are armed. We're going to turn all the landing lights on now and the wing lights, and we're going to make sure that we've got our pressurization to our cruise altitude, the air conditioning is all fine. We're going to turn the auto throttle on and arm LNAV and VNAV. Okay, so we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is put thrust to 40%. And then click the toga button, which will put our thrust to 97.6%. So go and release the parking brake, put thrust to 40%, which is indicated on the engine screen. Okay, that's stable, and then click toga, and that'll set our takeoff thrust. Airspeed live. 80 knots. 100 knots.
We want to
Rotate 2 degrees a second usually, so we don't scrape the tail. Up to 10 degrees. Positive rate, gear up. All the way up to 15 degrees now. Until we reach our decel altitude. Flaps 1. I'm going to turn the autopilot on. VNav and LNav on. They should have armed at 400 feet, but... And we're going to go start our left turn now. Flaps up. And we can extend our altitude all the way up to 32,000 feet. And just to release the strain on the landing lights in the undercarriage, we will just put them back into the fuselage. Just going into the clouds now. Wing lights can go off at 5,000 feet, which we're just approaching. Starting our left turn now, over the bay. Approaching our transition altitude of 6,000 feet, so we're going to set the barometric standard. And our speed will increase to 250 knots. Like we said in the FMC, we don't want to go over 250 knots under 10,000 feet. Just hitting some turbulence. And our speed will slowly start to increase. So we're just approaching 10,000 feet, and this green line is indicating when we will get to our target altitude, which we've put into the MCP, so it's 32,000 feet. So our top of climb aim point is just before SABAK, about 50 miles out. But we're aiming for here now, just because our speed is increasing. But once we start to slowly, our rate of descent will start to go down slightly. And that will get close to that top of the climb point. So we have passed 10,000 feet, our speed is increasing now past 250 knots. We can get rid of the landing lights and runway turn-off lights. The engine indicator switches can go back to the off position, and the seatbelt sign can stay on for now though, but it doesn't really matter when you turn it off. Okay, so on the MCP, we're running off VNav, vertical, and LNav is like latitudinal. We've got a target altitude 30,000 feet, cross-checking that we put that into the pressurization thing. We would be switching between radio stations as we fly out of Oslo, but we're not using any radios today, nor any traffic. So we're indicating that we're all set for our climb by looking at the ECAS system and seeing that it says climb there. So when we took off it said TO, making sure we're in takeoff configuration. So that's a good way to check. Sorry. That's a good way to check that we're in the right config for what stage of flight we are. Okay, so the trim's been set for us, and this is it for part 2. So all we're going to do is climb to our cruising altitude and level off. We'll turn the seatbelt sign off now. We're not changing any more things until we reach our climb, and then we will, episode 3 will start off just before our top descent point, which is indicated here, just before Toppler, and then we can make our visual approach. We won't be doing an ILS landing. It will be an ILS landing, but it won't be an auto land. So we will get guided down by the glide slope, and we'll have our ILS diamonds on our PFD there. So yeah, we're 40 miles away from the top of climb point. Just broke out of the clouds now. So I'd like to thank you for watching episode 1, and part 1 and part 3 will be in the description below. But if you're watching this quite early, since I've uploaded it, part 3 will not be out yet. It'll be out in a couple more days. But there will be a link in the description below. Also, if this isn't in depth for you, please check out my channel where there is a full tutorial series on this aircraft, whereby I explain stuff in a lot more detail. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in part 3. Thank you.